Hey everybody, it's Gail, and I am here with the big Barda top for this crochet diary. I have the the choker on it right now, because I want you to see what it looks like. Kind of get a hint of what it really looks like with the long sleeves and everything in the place it's supposed to be. So, looking pretty good. So the way that this came together was I knew when I decided to do the big Barda rebuild that I wanted to, like I've said before, evoke 70s fashion, but I also knew I needed a way to differentiate the different parts of the costume. And some parts of it, like the dark blue that has the shell stitch, that was super easy. But the question became, well, then how do we differentiate the yellow part of the top with the lighter blue at the bottom of the sleeves? And I realized the answer there was texture. So let me bring this into here so we can see a little better. Okay, so up here on this yellow part that is mimicking the upper half of Barda's top in the costume, this is a variation on the puff stitch where you only work 2 double crochet into 1 stitch, as opposed to usually it's 5 or 6 if you're working puff stitch with the way it's used most commonly right now. And this actually is a stitch. This variation I learned from that kitchen book that I always keep bringing up because it apparently taught me everything this year. So this is all puff stitch, the yellow is, and I started out by just working a chain that fit around the bottom part of, not the bottom part of my rib cage, but the bra band point of my rib cage, let's say, and I worked that, and then I increased as I was going. So this was all free-handed, and it was a lot of me just work a couple of rows, fit around me, work a couple of rows, fit around me, work a couple of rows, fit around me, and then when it got to the point that I could fit my boobs comfortably, I worked a few more rows so that I could have some coverage on the front and not have my boobs fall out, and then just worked the front, the upper front portion where the sleeve would end up fitting, and I did the same thing on the back, which you can't see as clearly now because it is seamed up the back, so it looks like it was all one piece, but it was not. It was actually 2 separate pieces. And then I'm really proud of this. I remembered to make a space for the back of my neck, and you would think that would not be hard to remember, but I forget it all the time. So I'm very proud of myself. And then once I had the yellow finished, the dark blue on the bottom half here, I joined and worked a really simple shell stitch pattern. So it's a 5-stitch shell, skip a chain, single crochet, next chain, skip a chain, shell, and just all the way across. Super simple. I think I just looked up like basic shell stitch and found a chart, so I made sure that I was doing it how I was picturing it, and I was. And then the sleeves are really special. I'm so proud of these sleeves, y'all. So, first of all, you will notice this is a set-in sleeve. That's right, I set in a sleeve freehand. The other thing is I had to figure out how to build it into a set-in sleeve, and that was a little bit terrifying. And what it was I started with enough change to work 5 shell stitches because I needed to work the shell stitches. And then I just started adding shell stitches as I went. I'm sure there is a proper way to add more shells. I don't think I did it. I just kind of went with what felt right and had a lot of scribbled notes. And so I just kept going and going until the shells could wrap down on the under part of the arm here. And that's how I decided how many shells to work. I think it was 19 shells a row by the time I was done. And then just eyeballed it on this first sleeve on how far down I needed it to hang before doing the first stripe here with the yellow dots, which is part of the costume. And then, again, just kind of eyeballed it while I was working. Here we go. Until I had enough to do enough length that I felt comfortable adding the second black stripe, and then after that second black stripe, just attached the light blue. And so the black stripes are worked in alternating rows of single and half double crochet. That's it. Nothing special. The the bottom part of the sleeve, this lighter blue, is worked in moss stitch. And again, this was about finding textures so that they would match throughout the whole costume, but those textures wouldn't add weight or an enormous amount of work to the project. And I knew the shell stitches were going to have to be done whether I wanted to or not in order to get the sort of fish, the scale look when you look at Barda's costume. So that was just something I accepted before I even got started. But the moss stitch here and then the small puff stitch here, I think, are really great complements because it gives you three very distinct it gives you those really distinct textures that I was going for, which is something that if you look at comic book costumes, you can see places where that is how someone has decided to make sure you can really see the costume. And with Barda's costume especially, I feel like the various textures that it gives you a sense of are a major part of it. And that's not surprising because Jack Kirby was a genius. Although I do have beef with Kirby, and I've had this beef for a long time, and this beef is all these fucking dots. So these dots, these fucking dots, man. Let me get it over here. So these dots are all made on a 2mm hook. The rest of this costume is made on a 4. And there are, I believe there are 6 per, hold on, let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, okay. So there's 6 per row on the arms. So there's 12 per arm, there's 24 on the top. There's more on the fucking skirt, and they had to be a little bit bigger and still worked on that 2mm. And then I thought, well, how am I going to attach them? And I am determined to do the smarter thing when I am making stuff now than to do the fast thing, which is both something I believe you learn the more that you work your craft, whether it be crochet or cosplay. Unfortunately, even when you want to bust out the hot glue gun and try to sort of cheat it, I have sweat hot glue off. I'm not kidding you. I have had times where I've had something hot glued on a costume and the amount I have sweat has, like, loosened it enough it's fallen off. I have sweat through a pair of boots. And look, they were not expensive boots. I'm the first one to tell you that. But this was like an actual pair of boots I bought at a store. These were not boots I made. These were like industrially made boots, and I sweat the glue off the soles. So, I had to sew all 24 of these fuckers by hand. And I don't mind sewing, but when I have to do that additional bit of work on a big project, it pisses me off. So these dots and I had a very tense relationship while it was all happening because I had to make them all first, and then I had to weave in all the ends, and then I had to sew them into place, and then I had to cut off the thread, and then I had to make sure nothing was showing through, and it was a lift. Am I glad that I did it? Yes, absolutely. It looks amazing. They're gonna stay on. It's great. Do I wish I was in love with a slightly simpler costume sometimes? Also, yes. But it is what it is. We love what we love, right? Last note on this, by the way, you will notice that there are gathers down here, right above the light blue, and I did that because I thought, the bell sleeve was a very big thing in the 1970s, and with the way that the black rose hit on the sleeve, maybe I can do a big poof, and then we'll just have that, and then we'll cinch it again. And I couldn't get the poof up here quite right, and so I said, screw it. We'll just, we'll pull it in down here. And what I did was I took a length of this matching blue, and I did a running stitch through, which is just when you go over, under, like a drawstring. And then I put it on, and I handed the ends to Sean, and I said, pull until I say stop. And so he did. And then we tied it off a little bit back from, like, 2 inches from where it was holding. And then I went in with a permanent marker, and I drew on that piece of yarn where it actually needs to be tied so that it would have the hold that I want. Took it off, got it there, tied it off, and they fit perfectly. It's a great fit. And that is, I think that's all the bits and bobs with the top. You know, it was funny because it really felt like a big project. The top itself, not even just the whole costume, but just the top felt like a big project when I started it. And I was kind of amazed once I found my groove with it. And once I figured out the first sleeve, the second sleeve, just like nothing. And I'm so proud of it. I've done so many things here that I've learned from working other people's patterns, working vintage patterns. There's a lot of stuff I've learned from vintage patterns that's gotten worked into this. I've learned that I can find enough patience to sew all of these on and to sew all on the ones you'll see on the skirt in the next video. And yeah, that's probably the whole thing. Last thing real quick. I did leave the bottom half of the top open for airflow reasons, which I can't report on yet because of the goddamn heat wave we got on con weekend at Rose City. We're a week and a half since con. It was awesome, by the way. Con's always awesome, but like it was still a great time. It was disappointing that I could not bust out the whole look, but your sweaty hobby should never turn into a heat stroke hobby. You know, just personal feelings on that there. All right, so I'm going to go, and the next time you see me for the Cosplay Diary, I will be showing you the skirt. And there's a little hint of it there. And yeah, I'm really excited that it's all done and I can give you the full tour. So, as always, if you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all of that fun stuff. I update the first 3 Fridays of every month, and if there is a 5th Friday, I will post a little extra video. And if, if you have any questions about the process, just let me know. I love talking about it. As you know, it's why I'm here. So I will see you when I see you.